Welcome back, everybody, to the Rebel Nutritionist Podcast. Today, I am really super excited to have Elise Wagner on. Elise and I met like a year ago at IFM, and like I felt we had an instant connection. We were talking, we were talking through the lectures. We had to move. It was very funny, but so excited to have you on, Elise. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here too. And yeah, when you have that connection with someone, it's so fun, isn't it? And I feel like when we got on, it's like we haven't left,
Right. It was like we
Yeah.
didn't.
Yeah.
We didn't.
Talk about bending time. It feels like, oh, okay, we just pick up. Let's go.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, right? But that's the amazing thing about energy between people. And you're in the right room with the right energy. I mean, I wish we were in a room together. That would be great next time.
Yes.
But so I want to congratulate you on your own brand, you're building this A Nourished Life. It's amazing. And your planner that I have and have been working on. So kudos to you on bringing this project to life.
Thank you. Yeah. It's like having another kid.
Right?
Each project is like its own kid in and of
Absolutely.
itself.
Absolutely. So talk about your journey a little bit in terms of like what, we all have, I think that's what I love so much about this functional, integrative, holistic world is that we all come with a story of our own healing journey, right? Or our own journey of how do we continue on this trajectory and then bringing people along so that we can help heal them, right? And so what is your journey? What has your journey been thus far? Because I know there's way more to go.
Oh yeah, we're on the journey, we're on the path, and that's the fun thing is that we're all on a path to well-being, and there's many different routes and ways and to get up the mountain, I call it, and then once you get to one peak, oh, there's another one over there, right? So fortunately, I've had a lot of experience with climbing my own mountain to well-being, and so I get it. And my journey started when I was really young. When I was 13 years old, I was overweight, 50 pounds overweight. I ate the standard American diet, you name it, anything that had, cheese, bread, that lovely golden arches on it,
Right.
had my name all over it. And what was really interesting now that I can look back and see is that I wasn't eating all of that stuff. Just because I was hungry for it. That was certainly a piece of it. There was definitely some mental and emotional aspects of it as well. But at the time, I didn't really know it. So I remember at 13 years old, being taunted and made fun of as obese Elise. I never even could rhyme my name, but hello.
So mean.
Young kids get really creative. And instead of allowing that to define me, and for me to take that on, I actually turned it inside and I asked the question within me. I'm like, well, I did ask, what's wrong with me? Why do I look this way? Why do I feel this way? But it really prompted this curiosity. And I went to my mom, who's always been my biggest supporter, and she still is to this day. And I said, I don't like the way I look or feel, and I want to change, and I need help. And looking back at that, I mean, I have a daughter. I don't know, anyone else listening, if you have kiddos, if they come to you and they say that, I mean, I also said, like, I know if I don't change this, we're going to go down a pretty bad path. I mean, I don't know what that looked like, but I was definitely depressed. I was not feeling good. And so my mom looked around to see, who can work with me, who could help me. And at that time, this is like Y2K 2000, none of the registered dietitians would work with an adolescent for liability issues. So we saw a holistic nutritionist. And really at that time, she was taking a quote unquote functional medicine root cause approach. And I met with her. We spent about 2.5 hours together. She asked me a ton of questions, not just about food, but about my relationships and my thoughts as well. I mean, and so we went deep. And at the end, it was a very collaborative process. We co-created a plan together, and I was ready. I mean, so when we look at readiness to change and changing behaviors, and I look back, I was ready, I was confident because I had the support. And it was important to me to make a shift and change. And now I had no idea. Like, am I going to change? Is anything going to change if I do this or not? So I just kind of had to take a leap of faith and trust. And within 2 months, well, there was some serious change. I lost about 50 pounds. And there was no calorie counting, there was no dieting. This was all about an eating lifestyle. And a lifestyle is going to fit, my needs, my preferences, and all of that. And so, yeah, this weight just like pop, like I just shrunk. And I literally said, holy guacamole, food is medicine. And I want to share this message with the world. I was so, and still I'm like in awe and so inspired of, whoa, we can feel so much better just by the small, sometimes almost insignificant, but it is really significant choices that we make with our food every single time we pick up our fork or spoon or whatever we are drinking. And so I wanted to everyone to know this while I was 13 years old. Who's really going to listen to me? But I really started this journey, and I was also ignited by this other question, because it's like, okay, I realized this food is medicine, but I also realized, like, wait a second, and this is in the year 2000. Now, 24 years going past this. I mean, we have more information than we even know what to do with. And we are still a very sick nation on a lot of levels, mentally and emotionally and physically. And I still wonder, like, oh my gosh, we have so much information. Why are we not implementing? Why are we not making those shifts and those changes? And so that's really been the fire that's keeping me going and trying to make well-being accessible.
Yeah.
And not so like esoteric and like out there, and like, but having practical tools like what you're holding in your hand and what you're using on a daily basis, so that you can start to cultivate that in your own life from within. So, and fast forward, I decided, okay, I want to become a nutritionist. I did my undergrad in nutrition and nutritional sciences and dietetics, and realized, wow, health, well-being, it's so much more than just food. And I was really into the behaviors and the psychology. And so I did a dual master's in holistic nutrition and clinical health psychology. And that's where I got really sick again, about 12 years after that. And I finally got a diagnosis of celiac disease, autoimmune disorder.
Wow.
And I remember, like, standing in my apartment. I was living in Seattle, Washington, like drinking a smoothie because that's the only thing I could down at the time. That would not like inflame me and make me blow up like I was 6 months pregnant. And I was dealing with, obviously, the inflammatory issues that come with autoimmune diseases. I was dealing with leaky gut, leaky brain. I was dealing with body dysmorphia, because my body looked very different after I would eat anything. And there was a whole healing process and journey. And I realized, okay, I've got a lot of education and information. I've made behavior changes before. And if I'm struggling with this, I can't even imagine what other people are struggling with. And I don't want people to struggle. It's painful, and it causes for a long, rocky road. It takes, time. Our bodies don't just swing back like I think we expect them to sometimes. So that's really always been at the core and the heart of who I am and what I do is really helping people to tap in to their own inner wisdom. I've never been one to say, like, do this or do that or give advice or whatever. It's like, you're the expert of your own life, and it's time to take some ownership and responsibility for your well-being. I mean, I really believe that. So yeah, so it has been a journey, and this is where it's led us today. And I'm just, that's a little bit about me in a nutshell.
How unbelievably mature of you at 13 to have that kind of awareness of yourself, first of all, to say it and articulate it the way you did, but to also recognize the deeper meaning, like food is medicine, that it's not just, oh, I'm doing this plan for X number of months to lose weight, that there's
Right.
so much depth beyond that. And so, how that was pretty profound of you and pretty mature at 13 to do that. So, you were
It,
destined for this journey.
guess so. I look back and I'm like, wow, okay, everything is like little breadcrumbs. Everything
Yeah.
kind of was leading up to that. And yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely one area I mature in for sure. Certainly others that I've got work to do. But yeah, it was I'm very grateful for those experiences. Those were those some of those things that were said and some of the things that were done were certainly hurtful. But I always am one to say, like, okay, our wounds become our wisdom,
Yeah.
our pain become our purpose. And so I just like to kind of transform that energy into fuel for positivity. Let's turn this into the most positive thing we can, so that we can serve others and
Right.
help others. So
So tell us a little bit, what does, besides having this amazing journal and doing that, what does a nourished life, what is your intention and your vision for this? And then how do people, what are people doing? How are they engaging with you to understand, what you're offering, right? What you're providing for people.
yeah, so it's interesting because like a nourished life, what does that really look like? What does that really mean? And I s- I think nourishment can mean so many different things to different people on so many different levels. And really a lot of it is part of that's part of the questions that as you go through. So on a logistical level, a nourished life is a 12-week program. It's 3 months that is really a journey that guides you to doing a lot of things. One is really identifying and understanding your values and lead first doing that so that you can lead from your values, and create well-being from your values. I think a lot of us, myself included, before I really started living this way, we look at how we were brought up. There's a lot of stuff coming at us all the
Mhm,
time
mhm.
from different people and places and messages that we're getting all over the place, social media, the magazines, TV, all that. And that imprints on us. And so this program is really a philosophy. It's a way of life. It's a way of thinking about our well-being. It's about a way of tapping into our inner well, this wisdom that we have that's available to us 24/7,
Mhm.
365, that um, we're not necessarily, unless you grew up in like a family with maybe like a guru or something like that,
Right.
necessarily taught
No,
that,
no, not at all. I mean, not at all.
right? So we've got to get it from somewhere. And so um, I feel like, okay, well, I've had these experiences and so perhaps maybe I'm one person to start teaching this and getting this work out into the world. So uh, it's about understanding your values and living by your values, and it's also about learning what are the beliefs that are running the show. I talk a lot about, you're very familiar, and those of you listening, like root cause medicine. Well, this is a root cause approach to well-being, mental and emotional.
Right.
And when we go up to the root cause, a lot of people think, oh, it's just around thoughts and beliefs and changing those things. And that is 100% true. But with this approach and a nourished life, we go even deeper. We go up to the roots, which are our values, and we start to shift those and change those. And then everything else starts to shift downstream, if you will.
Mhm.
So I would say, like, yes, in a nutshell, it is a holistic approach at looking at your entire life from a mental, emotional, physical, and even a spiritual space as well, and creating a life that really nourishes you from the inside out.
Right.
So
Yeah, I think that's phenomenal. And look, we talk the same language, we speak, right? I do it a little more with, when I say root cause, mine is literally physiologic, right? We're talking, but same thing.
yeah,
We address the pillars of health. There is always that overlap. We've got to have that mental, emotional, and we've got to address, right, our belief system and what is the story. I always say, what's the story we've been told? And how do we perpetuate, right, that story? So one of the things I loved about, I mean, I love watching your Instagram, but you had a really vulnerable post the other day, that you were like, that you were running late, you got up late, whatever it was, you were kind of not, that you called it in integrity with your values, with your kids, you were not, whatever, you were raising your voice, and yet you took that moment to stop and go, whoa, wait, what am I doing, right? It was like that check yourself thing. um
Mhm.
and you're aware, I'm aware, right? We're very aware of ourselves, and we're doing this work, right? How do we
Mhm.
really get people to stop? I feel like, we're just that, it's like that road rage, and the road rage incidents, right? You're on the highway, something happens, and that adrenaline kicks in, and you're just in fight or flight, and you just want to kill someone. And sometimes, unfortunately, they do, right? But it's like this automatic. How do we? What are one of what is one thing? Because I feel like so many people get stuck in that cycle of, I just, it's that spiral. Like, I'm starting in a negative way and spiral, spiral, spiral. How do you catch yourself?
Mhm. Well, I'll say this, not probably not a super popular opinion, but or you probably don't want to hear this. I guess I should say it that way. Is it takes practice. It is a practice, just like anything else. You want to learn how to play the piano, you got to practice. You want to learn how to ride a bike, you got to practice. I mean, you want to learn how to control your emotions and your thoughts, you've got to practice those
Yeah.
things. And if we look downstream at, so like, okay, if our values are up here, we know our values precede our beliefs, and our beliefs precede our thoughts. Our thoughts precede our feelings. Our feelings are always connected to needs, sometimes unmet needs, right? What are you really needing in that situation? And those feelings, those feelings typically drive our results, our behaviors, which get our results. And so it's like at any moment you can kind of pause. And I think that's kind of the message here is getting really good at pausing. I actually have a necklace. I'm not wearing it today. Right now I'm wearing this
It's like a.
hope
Oh, okay.
necklace, yeah, but, I have I have a necklace that is like a little pause button, and so in that moment, I've gotten really good at it, just practicing, like, "Wait, I gotta pause here, like, who am I being right now? And is that aligned with who I am wanting to become? The ideal-ish, self of what I see." And we're not striving here for perfection. That's totally not the goal. It's just progress. And I think there's some really amazing lessons in here. I don't know about you. I mean, I grew up with um, very authoritarian dad who would just, yell at me. Same thing. I wonder where I got it from,
Right,
right?
right.
The apple fall far from the tree. And so it's like unlearning and being willing. I think that's a huge, I want to underscore like the willingness piece, being willing to to reflect and to be kind of an observer of your behaviors and how you're acting and responding, and also like wondering, gosh, how where is this coming from? Where did this come from? And so like I know right away where it came from, right? And so then it's like, wait, do I want to keep, behaving like that and
Right.
acting in every moment of your life? You have a choice to make. And so that's where I go like towards, well, what's the most next nourishing, or I don't like to use words like good or bad and put like a more,
Right.
put morality around it, but like what's the most nourishing, most loving, most joyful next thought or next action or next thing you could do, and in that moment with my daughter, this is something I'm kind of looking at, like how my past and like how my dad, would respond, right? And he would just blow up and then walk away. And it's like, oh, okay. And so there was nothing really said about it. And so instead, it's like, well, I don't want that to happen because I know that that didn't make me feel good
Mhm.
and all that kind of stuff. So with my daughter, when that happened, it's like, hey, let's pause for a second. I want to talk about this and I want to apologize to you. That wasn't, and we make mistakes too. And so I just think normalizing that, and that we're all growing. I mean, even though we're grown ups, whatever that means,
Right.
um, we're still all growing, right? We're on this path to growing and evolving and unlearning and breaking some of
Yeah.
those cycles and
Oh, yeah, and I think having that awareness, like you said, I think it's so profound. And when we work with people, and I say, it literally is, and you had meant, right, these teeny, teeny, tiny steps. It's funny. One of the coaches that we work with, Shari Coltoon, who's phenomenal, in this work and the mindset work and the beliefs and all of that. She has a saying. She's like, "We're not going from A to B. We're going from A to A and a half."
Oh, I love that.
And I think it gives people the pause of, like, and we all, there's no A. We made up the A, and she made up the A and a half, but right, it is that minute, and it is that small, and being able to flip that and go, okay, like you said, what am I needing in this moment? What is this teaching me? What is this allowing me to reflect on in that moment of when you all of us, when it could go one way or the other, right? And that we take a moment to say, oh, okay, wait, where do I want this to go? And I almost think about it like the person, I know we've all had this happen, right? You're getting ready in the morning, and I remember, I like was making a smoothie, right? And you're rushing around. The top wasn't quite right on the smoothie container,
Oh,
right? And
that's
stuff falls all over, and you're like, oh my God, now I'm gonna be late, right? And now everything just kind of cascades from there. And I remember just saying in the moment, rather than going, oh, this is how my day is gonna be, right? Like, oh, what else is going to happen, right? We generally do that as humans, right? It's like, oh, wait for the other shoe to drop. I was like, all right, I'm going to clean this up, take a deep breath. What do I want to vision? This is just because I was running, right? When I take a moment to not get caught up in the story of what that was, or whatever I'm making it about, or it was okay.
I
And
love that. Yes. It's like you befriended the moment in a
right,
way to transcend it.
right, yeah,
Yeah. That's so powerful because a lot of times we just want to be like, "Oh," or "I don't want that to happen," and let's just but wait a second.
right, like,
Again.
well,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it was really about reframing the energy, because I knew if I went out and I was upset and I was putting out that negative energy, that's what was going to come back to me. And I think that we don't recognize that. I think there's so much, and I think what I love about the work that you're doing is it does give us that pause and that moment. You're focusing on that to stop and recognize the behavior that we don't want to perpetuate. And I think that's so important. Joe Dispenza talks about that, right? What are memories? They're behaviors of, and so if you want to change your programming, you've got to change the behavior from it's like, right? You can't cut and paste. Otherwise, you're repeating the same things that you don't want to repeating. It's like cut, paste.
Yeah, and it becomes so, the pathways are so ingrained, the neuronal pathway. So that's where we get this just like
Yeah.
reaction, go from 0 to 60, and to have some patience, to have a little bit of grace with ourselves, to be like, okay, this is a new thing. Just like, a few years ago or a year and a half ago, I decided I'm going to get some roller skates, like, and start roller skating. And I don't know, the last time I roller skated, I was probably like 8 or something. So, but it was a new thing to challenge myself. And I literally just started out by like starting by my driveway and just going like halfway down the driveway. And then, I worked my way up slowly, slowly, slowly. And I think we need to have a similar mindset with shifting our energy, shifting our thoughts, our beliefs, and those behaviors in the moment. It's like that go slow to go fast, because once you get it, and once you can kind of identify, okay, here's what I'm doing, don't want to necessarily be doing that or saying that or thinking that. Now I want to shift it. What do I want to shift it? I mean, we have to get granular about
Yes.
this stuff. I love doing that. That's so fun for me. And then when people get it, it's good,
Yeah.
because
It is.
then it just becomes new tracks, and you can kind of run on those and speed up the pace. So It's awesome.
Yeah, and and along the lines of that, I think when we talk about getting granular, it's with the food too. And what
Mhm.
people don't take the time to learn about creating a food foundation. It's not just follow X grams of protein and X grams of, everybody who's doing the macros and stuff like
Yeah.
that. It's, what also resonates that's going to nourish your body. We
Mhm.
don't talk about nourishment when it comes to food ever. I mean, that we talk about that all the time. It's like ad
Yeah.
nauseum. When I say to people, we're going to come up with some recommendations of what your food foundation can look like. But first and foremost, it is about nourishment. And what does
Yes.
that look like? And so, and that's everything that you're about. But I feel like, and especially now, with all of the Ozempic stuff, and we're doing a whole other podcast on that, and we can probably talk about that, right? But when were 13 and you said, okay, well, we didn't do the calorie counting and we didn't do any of that, what was your experience? Like, what did the holistic nutritionist have you do?
Yeah. So really good question. Couple things. We we did a little bit of a 180. Um, so by that I mean we went from processed foods to whole real foods. And so that was like really the foundation was if it's a
Mhm.
whole real food, go for it. And and we didn't get it. I mean, there's levels to this thing. So we were not into like the pasture raised, the grass fed, we weren't there yet. We were just like, let's just start here. Let's get out the pop or the soda, wherever you're from, the cookies, the Doritos, the Cheetos, the Pringles, all that jazz. And let's put in some more whole real foods. And, so came up with some different meals around that and ideas and this was really a whole family approach because, I was 13. I wasn't out going grocery shopping and
Right.
buying my own food. So my parents had to get really bought into this as well. And I can share another really fun example about that and what changed with my dad, which was really interesting. But I'll say that for a second. So we did that really just basic in that sense of processed foods out, whole real foods in. And then she taught me something that has really stuck with me that probably I was like, probably really helped me to lean more into the, I would say, intuitive side of eating and food. She said, we're gonna, I want you to eat, and then I want you to really kind of tap in with to yourself and how you're feeling
Mm.
after you eat certain
I love
foods,
that.
and so I got really good at tapping into a lot of things.
Hmm.
How full am I? How hungry am I? Does this food make me feel groggy, tired, crabby, nasty after I eat it? Or does it make me feel lighter and brighter and more energized and like I want to go and do things? And so getting really in tune with that. And that to me was all about turning down the external noise, which was hard to do because I was 13, moving in from like, middle school to high school. And so there's, friend groups and there's people and, and I got to be honest with you, I'll be really real with you. I ended up eating lunch by myself a lot in the library. And the reason was, I wasn't eating what everyone else was eating. And that was different. That was weird. And I think it takes some chutzpah to do something
Yeah.
different, to do what not, to have the results of 5%, this health success. You've got to do what 95% of the people are not willing to do.
Oh, I love that. That is
And
such a good, I love that. I'm stealing that.
yes, feel it. Go for it. Because I had this insanely profound impact because of food there was no way in hell I was going to allow popularity or this or that to get in the way of my health. I mean, that became my number one value. And I had to stand by that. And, if you know me, I'm loyal to a T.
Yeah.
I will stand behind those that value of health and well-being and what that looks like and defined by me. And so, yeah, I ate in the lunchroom all by myself. I mean,
Right.
at that time, I was eating gluten. I was having like Ezekiel bread, sprouted grain bread, almond butter, seaweed, all this. And so, yeah, it was different, right? It was different, but So I would say those are the two main things that we did is whole real foods and started to get really in tune with, what's feeling good, what's not feeling good. And so I gained, a lot of inner awareness of, okay, corn affects me this way or dairy affects me this
Right,
way. Well, let's maybe, again, not from this restrictive point of view, but like maybe let's just take those out for a little bit and let's see how your body
right.
responds. How does your body talk to you and listen to you? So it became a much more like intuitive
And I
approach.
think that is so important. I really I almost want to rewind that and play that back 3 or 4 times. Like I want people to really hear that because this is really it is the foundation. How do foods make you feel, right?
Mhm.
And but more importantly, the real food, real unprocessed food. If we
Yeah,
could just get people to start with that and then tune into how does this make me feel? That
yeah,
would solve so many problems, right? I mean, you said in the beginning, we have all of this at our fingertips. We have so much more information. We've got research. We've got all of this technology at our fingertips, and we have never been sicker, more unhealthy, and we're seeing it younger ages. I can't tell you how many young kids I have coming in who are pre-diabetic. I've got some as young as 13 that are diabetic because of this, right? And so it's
wow.
it's horrible. It's horrible, right? And then the mental emotional stuff that comes along with all of that or precedes it or it really is
Yeah.
it is crazy. So I feel like yeah, just tuning into eating real food, how does it make me feel and stopping long enough to make that connection for people I think is so important. And but but it's no different than, okay, well, I need to stop long enough to take care, to recognize my values. And the problem is our society just does not embrace, our culture does not embrace, whoa, hold on and pause. It's just go, 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 go. And, we're feeding ourselves on adrenaline and coffee and chocolate and sugar because everybody's so tired.
I know. I know. I know. I think we all need a pause button. We all need to just like take a break and whatever that looks like, in your life. I try to make these things accessible and doable and realistic and practical. And so like the question would be like, what does a pause look like in your life?
Right.
And it doesn't need to be this whole like, I mean, sure, if you want to and you can, take a vacation, that's great. I don't know about you. When I take vacations, I feel like I need a vacation from that
Yes.
stressful, right? But so my whole thing is a nourished life is like you are living this life. It is a life. It is not just a moment in time. I mean, it is strung together, but how can you make this more of a lifestyle for you instead of just, oh, I'm going to do this. Didn't really work. So I'm on to the next thing,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And it's like you have a little bit of this, the shiny object syndrome that's everywhere. And we wonder, well, why things are not actually,
Sticking.
working for us or clicking. And I have a little bit of a theory, and because I've realized it in my own life, and I call them vitamins, different than nutritional vitamins. They're more like self leadership vitamins or nourishment, which is vitamin C and D. And that stands for consistency and discipline.
Mm.
And discipline, not from the punishment standpoint, but discipline from how can I stay disciplined? Like one of the disciplines I have, or it's really just a habit now, or whatever you want to call it. If that you can change the name if you don't like that name, but it's making my bed every morning.
Mhm.
I got to make my bed. I just have to do it. But before that, I've got my little routine down, and if some days I wake up late, like that one morning, I'm still running that routine because of the why. And I think that's a third point I would add to the what why that's one of the questions I remember my Carol, and she's still my nutritionist to this
Oh,
day,
wow.
Carol. Um, and she said, why does any of this matter? Why is this important to you? And when you look in the lifestyle and self-care journal, there's questions that say, okay, what's your goal for this part of your lifestyle? whatever it is, if it's the career part or the health part. And then it's the question underneath it is, why does that matter to
Right.
you?
Yeah. And
And so
it took me a long time I spent some time with that. I'm like, what is the why there?
I'm glad you did. I'm so glad that you, yeah, spent some time. It takes the time, some time to get to the core and to the root of like, why are we really doing this? You know, and back when I was 13, when she first asked me that question, it was like, I want to lose weight. That was the initial response, which I'm sure you hear that a lot.
Mhm.
I just want to lose the weight. But why? Let's keep digging. Why does that really matter to you? You're
Yeah.
going to lose weight so you can, you know, and for me, it's like, I just want to feel good. I want to wake up and just feel alive and good and energized. And so that now, you know, we can do our purpose, right? What we're here to do in this world.
Yeah,
So,
that's one of the things. I mean, as you know, Amanda went through that amazing coaching program, right? It is. We do. I mean, even before that, right? But we're asking the why, and the why is never just weight loss. And we do have our clients really think, what is your why, and then what is your vision, and for yourself and your health. And one of the things that I think, with the consistency, I love that, the consistency and the discipline. I talk about that all the time, right? It's like I am so ridiculously consistent, but
mhm.
people always say, I want to do what you want to do. I'm like, all right, come hang out with me. And it's kind of boring because I do the same thing. Like, I
Yeah.
am up at 5:30, 5:45, and I am doing my lemon water, and I'm doing that, right, and I'm at the gym, and like, if someone wanted to stalk me, it'd be pretty damn easy. But doing the journaling and doing the meditating for me has become non-negotiable, because it allows me to set myself up and still hold on to those values, right? And hold on to the things that I want to maintain and that are purpose driven in my life. And so, one of the things that I think comes that we hear about so often, all every day, right, is I just say, you and I have come to this place because you and I have we have a story, right? We have a story. I had cancer. You had, you dealt with your weight loss, I mean, weight issue, and then you had the celiac, right? And everybody has something where nobody gets out of this life without, something. Yeah. How
Yeah.
do we encourage people to use that more preventatively? It's like
Mhm.
I always say to people, look, I do this work because I don't want anybody to hear the word cancer, right? Nobody that I know and love should ever be diagnosed with cancer. And that translates to the people that I work with too. And it's not
Mhm.
just cancer, it's any chronic disease. Yet, how many people do you meet who have an ache, who have a pain, who have we call it the whispers, right? Those body whispers. And I say,
Mhm.
this is your body whispering. And when it gets to a roar, that's tough, right? That's a tough place, because it's either a chronic disease, you've got cancer, you've got some kind of immune disease, you've got something. And, then they look at me and go, I wish I would have done that. And I wish I would have done this. Like, I think even the work in like all of this work that you do, it would lead someone to live such a preventative life. Yet we don't embrace that, right? We embrace the, let me just wait till I beat myself up and get sick. How do you, what's your thoughts on that?
I have a couple thoughts, and I want to back up too because I want to underscore a few things you said. You said like those are your non-negotiables, and I just want to underscore that like self-care is a non-negotiable at this point. We've been taught and we're told by society and constantly reminded that self-care is selfish and
Right.
don't do it and put everyone else first besides you. And it's like this, it really is a paradigm shift, of we put our self-care last and we've got to turn it upside down. And so it's I think a lot of it is a way of thinking and being in the world, but it first comes with a decision and a choice of looking at your life and how you get to design this. You have this beautiful canvas in front of you, and you get to live it however you want to live that out. And so, what does that look like?
Yeah.
And kind of almost reverse engineering this, it might sound a little morbid, but a couple of years ago, I went on a little retreat just by myself, me, myself, and I. And I was at this spa and I actually wrote my eulogy.
Yeah. Okay.
I wrote it. I was like, I want to not like, this is who I am. This is what I want to stood for in my life. This is the gift that I want to give to the world.
Yeah.
And um, that really created a lot of meaning and purpose for me. So I could reverse engineer it.
I think that,
And
yeah. Yeah,
I mean, not something we want to talk about.
like I'm thinking about a few clients that, they can't even get out of their own way. And I don't mean that in a negative way. Like they're so stuck in their story and they're so stuck in that loop, that negative loop of whatever they've been told, right? Whether it's a trauma from very young, I was not good enough. I was right. That whole enough thing. I mean, I can't tell you how many women and
Yeah.
men, but I will tell you women more so, right? Of the you're not enough, or you're not this, or you're not smart enough, or you're different, whatever, right? And in their 50s, they're still not able to shake that enough to get beyond, I need to take care of me and I owe myself and I deserve to take care of me. So I feel like, you know what, you go write your eulogy and like, okay, I got work to do here.
Well, it's so interesting. I want to like hop in here because it's you talked about like the woman who is stuck in this belief of I'm not enough. And so that starts, she starts living
Yeah.
that out.
Yes.
And that starts coming out in how we talk,
Mm-hmm.
in the thoughts that we think, in the food that we choose, in how we choose to move our body or not move our body. We know we should be probably, I hate that word should, but for lack of a better word, if we had the choice, like we want to go outside and be in nature and be in the sunshine and all that, or most people would opt to sit on their couch and binge watch Netflix with a bag of chips because it's easier. And it also perpetuates that same cycle, So but again, the choice is always up to you. And one of the things that why I get really revved up about it. And I love being in this energy space with you because I just know you are someone of integrity and you walk your talk and you live it. And because you've been to that space. I've been to that space where I haven't had my health. And you have a purpose here. We all have if we are here and breathing, we have a purpose.
Yes.
And so if I'm not able to do my purpose and like live that out and sing my song and give that gift to the world, and if you're not able to do that, then that dies within us. And what good were we? I mean, what good were we for the world? It's like, well, we have these beautiful gifts to give. We're here to give them. But I also believe we're here to do it in a space where we feel our most healthy and happiest, self. And that truly is a gift in and of itself to give to ourselves.
Absolutely. Right.
You
Have
know?
that, to feel that gratitude. Like it's funny. So I'm growing this like tower garden thing. I'm so excited.
Uh-huh.
So I pulled out big bok choy. I was growing this bok choy and I cooked it, and my
Wow.
daughters were over and they're like, "This is like the best bok choy you ever made." And I said, "That's because I grew it out of the garden, and there's a lot of love in that bok choy."
I was gonna say, tell me, did you talk to it every day?
Yeah,
Did you
I
give it
do.
a
I go
name?
out and I talk to my plants. I'm like, "Oh, you're looking." I went and I had to go out this morning. My basil's looking a little sad. I'm like, "What do I need to do for you? Tell me, please water me." But but it is, energy is in so many forms, and it was really more about the gratitude of being able to grow my own food and cultivate it and enjoy it and eat it, and taking that moment to reflect in that and go, wow, I'm so lucky, and I feel like that's part of, right, the purpose is, where's our
Mhm.
gratitude to be able to serve and to be able to do those things too.
I want to talk to you about gratitude first. I was joking. So I totally believe like, we all need our own, we all need our own support, right? So I've got a nutritionist, I've got a therapist, all that, got my people supporting me from the health side of
Mhm.
things. And so I was joking with my therapist. Um, and I said, oh, Susan, I was microdosing the other day. And she goes, she just couldn't believe it. What do you mean you're microdose? What is this? Because I don't drink. I don't,
Right, right.
partake in things. And I said, oh, don't get all crazy. Don't get all wild. I said I was microdosing on gratitude. She's like, oh, we just had the best laugh. And I said, no, really, it's so fun. And actually, it's one of the ways that gets me into a space of awe right away, and I like, I can almost like envision myself like prancing around, walking around my house. Like I've got this little, invisible basket of like gratitude that I just get to like, oh, so grateful, so grateful for whatever it is. My feet, I can stand on my feet. I have legs that can help me walk. I've got eyes that I can see. I have this beautiful, well, some people may think it's beautiful voice, that I speak out of, right? Right. So this the power of gratitude, that is also very healing.
Yeah.
And also I think showing gratitude. I had someone I was speaking with the other day, and she's she's working with a functional medicine provider, and she's got her health and all that set up. But from the mental emotional side, she's dealing with hypothyroidism, and she has a goiter. And I said, work with me here on this. A little bit different. Gonna slide something over to the table for you to think about. But have you ever thought about what is this here to teach you? Have you ever shown it some gratitude? It must be here for a reason. And I don't know about you, when you were struggling or overcoming cancer, with me and celiac disease and my autoimmune disorder and the way my body spoke to me. I mean, I certainly, there were some very rough patches, but I also tried to incorporate and weave in this gratitude of like, wow, you're speaking to me like loudly. What do you need here? Holy cow.
Mm-hmm.
Having gratitude that our bodies can, obviously they're not going to converse,
Right.
wouldn't that be funny? Like you and I, but they do talk to us,
Yeah.
and we do have to listen.
Absolutely.
So,
That's why I say, any symptom, anything that's going on physical that you can see, that you can't, it's like, oh, what is this lesson here? What do I need to stop and pay attention to? And so,
yeah.
and I think all of the, and that's what I love about your journal, and I love about the work. It is, you're just getting people to stop, take that mirror, turn it around and go, okay, what do I need to give myself, and what do I need to teach? And I think those, like you said, like we weren't taught any of this when we were younger. I mean, I'm fortunate that I have three kids, and we do have these dialogues, and we do talk all the time, and and because I knew I didn't grow up with great communication from my family, and I didn't grow up, and so I was like, okay, what is my purpose in being a mother to them, and really teaching them what they need to know, and and every day, I'm grateful that I get a phone call from my daughter. It's like, we haven't seen you, come over for dinner. I was like, drop the phone, like,
Oh,
right. And that my son, who's graduating med school, wants to spend a weekend with just me, one-on-one time. Like,
mm,
to me, nothing else compares to that. There is,
yeah,
like, I have done my duty in this world. Not really, because I still have a lot of healing to do for, help others, but in terms of my own personal, right? So the
yeah,
gratitude is like overflows for that. And and you and I want that for other people too. And we want them to be able to take time to stop enough to do that.
yeah. And I want people to know it's possible.
Yes.
It's totally
Yeah.
100% possible. And even if it doesn't seem like it is, or you can't really see like a model of that, I think that's why it's so important for those of us who, can be modeling this out, and there's no right or perfect, or, you're going to find someone or something that will resonate with you and you can kind of attach to, and you might find some, but to find those models in your life, I call them empowered models. Who can you kind of look to, and I like the way they do that, or
Yeah.
I think I want to try that out, and we need more of that. And so that's why I love this space and connecting with others, especially you, because that's, you got to really live it out. I talk about like living in your values. Well,
Yes.
first we got to figure out what those really are, which ones are serving you, and then how can you really live that every day. And I have a question for you. I mean, when you talked about your planner and how you, when you use it, I'm curious, two things. Like, how do you feel once you are like, working with it, and you've, I don't know, maybe you've sat there and planned like the month, or at least you're part of your different self-care for or lifestyle for the month.
I think it allowed me, because I actually put like words, I had words on certain days, like, okay, here's my focus, and this is what I'm looking at, and where do I need to pivot on? And because I do such deep, like I really do this deep meditative manifesting, energetic work, um it's really about building on that, and that if I go to a negative place, that I don't stay there nearly as long, right? So like giving myself the grace in writing that, or, and just sort of, it's like more like for me, it's like almost like a stream of consciousness.
Mm.
A little bit like, here's what I did, but don't do, but right. Okay. Well, what do I want to work on, or what's the next thing? And, yeah, that's kind of,
I love that. Thank you. And that's one of the reasons why people have asked me like, oh, well, why is this, paperback or whatever? And I said, that is very conscious. That's a very conscious decision. We're so on our computers or on our phones every day. This gives you a little retreat back to yourself, whether you do it in the evening or in the morning or whatever time works for you. But, to turn off the other things and to kind of get you into a little habit of like, just be with myself and my own thoughts and
yeah.
my own
And I
consciousness.
love
And
writing. I am that old school, I take notes in meetings and I'm writing. And we've lost so much of that fine motor skill that we need our hands for. People always say, why do we have cognitive decline? Well, partially because nobody's using their fingers to do anything.
I know.
Right? Like nobody is, like, even cooking. Cooking is a fine motor skill that literally connects to the brain.
Yes,
So
you're so right. Oh my God. I never like computed those two together, but that is
yeah.
so true. That's why we gotta get our kids back in the
Yes,
kitchen.
we got to get our kids right, but that's also why I like the journaling too. In a journal, in a paper, right?
Yes.
I can write. So a couple other things, right? I mean, we talked about values and vision, but and you talk about that inner wisdom, and I think we talked about that. Like, what is your body saying, and right, and because one of the other questions, does my health and well-being bring me even more joy and purpose in my life? And I do want people to take that time to say, what is my health? I have a friend who had some kind of medical incident this week, and
Yes.
and I've been saying to him, you need to take care of yourself. You need to be doing this. He works too much. He doesn't have enough self-care, go, whatever. And so he had to take this time to be in the hospital and take care of some stuff. And then he finally reaches out to me. Okay, I think I'm ready. Like, thank God it wasn't really horrible, and he'll be okay. And but it's just, I just wish people would be a little more proactive than they are. And I think it's, look, that's not our culture. I wish it
Mhm.
were. How do you speak to that? Because I'm sure you see people in this work too.
I'm glad you're kind of bringing this back up, and because I think one of the best things that we can do, and it really is, it comes out of, positive psychology. It really is about, I think, pausing for a moment and asking the question.
Mm.
Found that I'm not like an advice giver. I was probably like the antithesis of a nutritionist. I mean, actually, when I told people I was like a nutritionist and a therapist, they'd actually run the other way because they're like, oh my God, don't psychoanalyze me and judge what I'm eating. And I'm like, oh no, 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 that's just like
I know
that.
people say that to me too. Yeah, I can't eat in front of you. I'm like, oh, what?
Yeah, and I'm like, "Oh, please, I'm not judging you." But the thing I think, is very important is this idea of asking these open-ended questions, and I don't know about you, but when I've been able to it's easy because when we're outside of it, we can see. We know the answer, "Oh, you just gotta do this," and, "Oh, da, da, da." But sometimes when you're in it, you're so in the weeds, you can't see what really needs to be done. But that questions, the right questions, I think the open-ended questions where you're starting with what, or tell me a little bit more, and you're allowing, what you're doing right there is you're asking a question, you're creating some space, some invisible space
Mhm.
between you and that person. So instead of just saying, you should do this or you got to do this, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a million and one questions that you can ask in the moment.
Oh, yeah.
But what I found is that is what creates some really cool space, where you can, as the asker of the question, and this is where we have coaches and what they're so great about. You can hold space for people that is safe, that's non-judgmental, and they have an opportunity. What I've found in personal and professional, like looking at my husband, he's like, personal and professional conversations and things like that, is that people are then now able to step into their own to take ownership,
Yeah.
which is really what I stand for. Take ownership of and responsibility for your well-being. And part of that is, we're so used to asking, you know, Google whatever or
Yeah.
whatever MD or reaching out to everyone else. And yes, there are people who have different knowledge and expertise. And at the end of the day, it comes back to like, well, yes, and what are you able and willing to do right now to shift and take an inspired action step? So that would be my, even if you have to kind of coach yourself on it, ask yourself that kind of a question like, what do I need right now? Or hey, what's going on?
Right. And that's amazing. And and that's why I'm so glad you're in this space, right? That people can reach out to you. I mean, that's what we do in our coaching, right? I mean, we are asking those questions and we're asking them to reflect and asking those hard questions and asking them to, yeah, are you willing to do this for yourself? We're just going to support and guide you and hold you accountable to it without judging you, right? Without judging you. So,
Yes. Oh, I love that. And sometimes that can be the hardest thing.
oh yeah.
We owe so much to everyone else. And, some people will take the shirt off their backs for everyone else, but they won't
Oh
necessarily
yeah.
serve themselves first.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
All about that. Oh my gosh. So thank you. Yeah, we could go on and on. We'll have to find time to do this again. But any last things that you want to share with our audience?
Oh gosh, I would just say, just keep moving forward on your health and well-being, and just know that you do have this inner wisdom that's within you that you can tap inside. And so if you need to get some support to help you access that, sometimes we do need to figure out how does that really work? What does that look like? So I just encourage you, and and to take some ownership of your well-being. What does that look like for you today? Which is one small thing you can do. And just success begets success. The more you can do it, the more you're going to see some momentum and things shifting and changing.
Great.
So
And a good way to start is to write it down. So we will have the link to your planner here
thank you.
in the show notes and all that, and where everyone can find you. And thank you for your time and your energy. And this has been awesome.
Awesome. I hope this served you and served your community. And yeah, I would love to stay connected with anyone who's, wants to transform your well-being, live a nourished life.
Awesome.
So thank you.
Yes. All right, everyone. Yes, we will have all of that information attached, show notes, links, and you can reach out to Elise. This is a wrap. This is your Rebel Nutritionist signing off. Make it a great day, everybody.